that have been made, a report that has been that has dominated the news this Sunday. First of all, the allegations against the SACP's chairperson. How does the SACP respond to that?
Well, we currently view them as mere allegations. We've spoken to our chairperson who has denied the allegations. We see it as part of a smear campaign, but we must indicate that we take this matter very seriously. Any matter that relates to the question of corruption. You know that the SACP championed a campaign against corruption since 2010 when it launched a national rolling mass action in the campaign against corruption and criminality, for which we have comrades who died in that particular process by corrupt individuals. Bomba Nchanga is a comrade in the northwest, as well as in others in the Mpumalanga province. So, in their name, we have decided to dedicate the entire campaign, the crusade against corruption. And therefore, we take this matter very seriously, and we'll make sure that the law takes its course, and we have welcomed the intentions for investigations.
Okay, let's speak about taking this matter very seriously. If you do take this matter very seriously, isn't it wise then probably for the SACP to say that, Mr. Zokwana, in light of these allegations that have been made, we think that you should probably stand aside while the police continue with the investigations, and after you've cleared your name, then resume office?
Yeah, we'll definitely come to that stance, possibly once he's charged. He has not yet been charged. It's just mere allegations that have been raised. And of course, he has denied that. So it's at the moment is the word against him and against the ones that is making these allegations. You'll also know that allegations, anybody can make allegations against anyone. So in this case, they have not yet been taken to court. There's no evidence that we can even think about. But quite clearly, once the evidence is put on the table, the matter is within the court process, we're able to make a way in and ask him to step aside so that the law can take its course without hindrance.
So are you then confirming that only after this matter then goes to court, irrespective of whether he's found guilty or not, the SACP will then have to sit down and decide whether he steps aside or not, or does the SACP automatically then take the decision and say that, Mr. Zokwana, there are these allegations, you have now been served with court papers, you've been served with summons, now you're being tried. For that reason, you must step aside.
Yes, once they reach that stage, definitely we'll express ourselves quite clearly. We also believe that the discipline and the conduct, ethical conduct of leaders of our party should be above the law, essentially, in a sense that they should be measured higher than the ordinary law that applies to ordinary South Africans, because we are supposed to be revolutionaries. We should set much more higher standards. So if before the law completes its normal processes based on the allegations on the table, we should be able to take that kind of a political decision. But we must also emphasize that he still remains innocent until proven guilty. That is why we want this investigation to be speeded up and without any interference.
Speaking about these allegations, and now that you're saying that this is what the SACP will be doing on its side, you also mentioned the issue of a smear campaign. What would the smear campaign be? What would the intention be behind the smear campaign?
Well, we've noticed that this is not a matter that is, I imagine, quite now. It has been in the court at some point without necessarily him being involved. And I think that is largely because of his own stance against corruption, which I think is also very much important. This matter was in the court process, and I'm quite surprised that the newspaper didn't actually talk to that particular point, because this is a matter in which the Western Cape High Court ruled in favor of the department, and he stopped tenders that were illegally awarded, and he also sought to prosecute the people in the department who actually received a benefit from these alleged persons and so forth, as well as that's the reason why currently at the moment there's also a critical matter between him and his DG.
His lawyer actually in that article do confirm this. But just quickly as well, there's someone else who's also being implicated here. Yeah. That is Dumo Dlamini, who's the president of COSATU, but also the former president of the ANC. And I then wonder, heading into the elections, how difficult would it be for from the Communist Party, for the party to be campaigning for the ANC, seeing that its former president, who's remained active within the ANC, being facing these allegations?
First, I must indicate I also spoke to President of COSATU, Comrade Stumetla, who's also our member, and he actually denied all of this. And of course, to the extent that he has not even been spoken to by anyone, including the police. So it was just a shock for him that he hears this in this case. But we'll apply the same measure we have said about Comrade Zogwana. With regard to President Zuma, I think his case is beyond this one. There are many other cases that were leveled against him. There have been concrete evidence through the Gupta leaks and others, which obviously led to him losing actually the credibility and almost dragging our movement into that. That is why we'll think that the ANC, which will be in its favor as well as in our favor, to make sure that he's not taking part in the electoral platforms.
Because that's another question that I wanted to ask. How critical is it if he is part of that electoral process? Because he has been seen to be campaigning for the party. He's been quite active even during the voter registration weekend, and now also part of the NEC meetings as an ex-officio member.
Yeah, like the point I'm raising, that is not good enough, because as revolutionaries, our moral and ethical conduct should be much higher than what is generally applicable. It doesn't necessarily mean that we are not part and parcel of members of society, but we seek to transform society to lead it to somewhere else. And where we are leading that particular society, we need incorruptible leaders, and we can't have that kind of a face representing our value system that will be completely against what we stand for.
First Deputy Secretary General of the SACP, Solima Paila, joining us in studio. Thank you so much for your time. Let's go to a quick ad break, and after that we'll continue with the news bulletin.